Guys, you know that I do not take to rumors lightly. I do not like to make should the Chiefs trade for X, Y, and Z player videos. It does not, in my opinion, do anything but just kind of foster rage bait. And I'm not knocking anybody who does do it. I understand. And if I did it, I would have a lot more views than I do. But possibly piggybacking off of the credibility of Arrowhead Pride, they posted a link to an article in their Arrow Headlines article this morning that was maybe the Kansas City Chiefs will trade for a former first-round player. And I want to read this report, and then I've got some analysis, and I also have some thoughts on the likelihood because of one detail in this report that I don't know if anyone, well, we'll just get into it. The Kansas City Chiefs could be active during the first night of the NFL draft and trade for a former first rounder from Last Word on Sports by Anthony Palacios. We get the following. This week, the Kansas City Chiefs could trade for wide receiver Trayon Burks during the NFL draft to bolster their pass-catching department, according to Bleacher Report. They believe the Tennessee Titans and Chiefs could exchange where the Titans send Burks for a fifth-round pick, which would make sense considering the wide receiver room for Kansas City. It wouldn't really make sense, but we're going to get that in a minute. We'll get to why that is in a minute, and it's not because of the talent that Trayon Burks does or does not represent. Originally selected in the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the former Arkansas product has had one of the worst starts to his career. One of the worst starts compared to what? Despite recording, I'm a bit of a purist for this sort of thing. Despite recording 33 receptions for 444 yards and one receiving touchdown, that was as a rookie, does not clarify. Burks has been dealing with injuries for the majority of his sophomore campaign, and there was hope that after trading DeAndre Hopkins last year, which was his third year, not a sophomore campaign, he would increase his production. It hasn't been happening that way, so it's possible the Titans could trade the former first-round bust to a new roster during the NFL draft. The Titans hold the first round selection this year. Well, there's 32 first-round selections, but they hold the number one pick with the assumption that they will select a quarterback to take over Will Levis' starting role. With that, this means it doesn't secure a future for Burks, who is entering the final year of his rookie deal. Not true, correct? Because he gets 5. You get the fifth-year option. He is entering year 4. The wide receiver could come in as a project for the Chiefs, as they are still figuring out Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy's legal issues. Xavier Worthy does not have legal issues. That popped up and was gone. Legal issues could use Burks to provide some upside behind Marquise Brown. However, the Chiefs aren't the only team who may pursue him. There are plenty of rosters that could use the experiment, and these two teams make the most sense to give him a shot. Now, the article said that the rumor is the Chiefs will trade a fifth-round pick for Trayon Burks. Some of you already see the problem with that. Here are the Kansas City Chiefs draft picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Round 1, Round 2, Round 3, Round 3, Round 4, Round 7, Round 7, Round 7. There is no fifth-round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Now, obviously, the Chiefs could get their hands on a fifth-round pick. It's not impossible. But here's the thing. If I ask you what you want for your Patrick Mahomes, is it RPA, rookie patch auto? What do you want to trade for your Patrick Mahomes rookie patch autograph football card? And you say, well, I'll take a PlayStation 3 for it. I don't have any I've just dated myself, haven't I? I have no idea what PlayStation they're on now. That sounds right, PlayStation 3. Don't correct me in the comments section. Where was I going with this? Right. You say, I'll take a PlayStation 3. And I say, I don't have one, but I can get one. How likely is that trade to occur? It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You don't trade someone for something they have and you don't. Right? Could they trade back from pick 133? Well, into the 5th round? Well, Brett Veach just spent a couple paragraphs the other week talking about how hard it is to trade back. It's much easier to trade up because you know where you're trying to get. I think it is at the outset very unlikely because the terms that have been thrown around in this rumor are completely fabricated, down to the fact where they were fabricated so poorly that the actual trade bait does not exist, that being the 5th round pick. So let's just look at it anyway, because I think that it is true that Brett Veach is trying to add a wide receiver in this draft. It is definitely a Brett Veach move to try to add former first-round talent, and former first-round talent at a discount is kind of Brett Veach's thing. Now, it hasn't worked out very often, and it might not here, because Trayon Burks has not had a great NFL career thus far, but we're going to get into some extenuating circumstances for that. Trayon Burks, 6'2", 225 pounds. That's a thick cat. 33.5-inch arms. Good arm length for a wide receiver. 4.55 40-yard dash. Very close to Rashee Rice's 40-yard dash time. 4.53 was that Rashee Rice's? 1.54 10-yard split. That's a respectable 10-yard split. 35.5-inch vertical, nothing to write home about, nothing terrible. 10-foot 2-inch broad jump, nothing to write home about, nothing terrible. So let's get into what he's done in his time in the NFL. The article said he's a bust, and I would have to agree. But he did have a decent rookie year. 54 targets with 33 receptions, logging 444 yards and 1 touchdown. 19 first downs. 19 out of 33 receptions were first downs. Basically, 66% of the time he puts his hands on the ball, he's crossing the first down marker. In his sophomore campaign, 16 receptions, 221 yards, still a decent 13.8 yards per reception, right? So he fell off in receptions, but his play with the ball in his hands was comparable. That is something that kind of means maybe it was the targets not getting out there. Maybe he had issues with drops that year. What was going on? Well, you see his targets basically cut in half, 54 to 30. His receptions basically cut in half, 33 to 16. So a little bit his catching, so the catching percentage there went from 61 to 53. A little bit it went down, but we're going to get into why that might be also. Remember, with catching percentage, you're counting targets. You're not counting how many passes the wide receiver got his hands on. You're counting targets. And then last year, 2024, was absolutely deplorable for Trayon Burks. 5 games, 2 starts, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 34 yards. Nothing going, right? Nothing going there. Sounds like a rough year all around for Trayon Burks, the former first-round pick. But once we get into notes on what is going on with the young wide receiver, we have some things stick out. That rookie season was decent. 444 yards your first year in the league is a decent go-round, especially when you already had DeAndre Hopkins in the offense. So, right, he was there in 2022, right? I believe he was there in 2022. Right? Anyway, doesn't matter, because what really matters is that was his only season with 17 starts from Ryan Tannehill at the quarterback position. In 2023, all of a sudden, about half the time, you're looking at Will Levis starting at quarterback. And look, Ryan Tannehill is not Patrick Mahomes. Could Trayon Burks do better with Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball? Indeed, I think he could. But let's look at this leap. Ryan Tannehill to Patrick Mahomes. Ryan Tannehill, what are you looking at? You're looking at maybe he was kind of at this time the 16th-ish best quarterback in the league, right? You were looking at a guy that was kind of around the mid-mark of football. Ryan Tannehill was a competent starter. Wasn't going to win you a whole lot of games, but he wasn't going to lose you a whole lot of games. So Patrick Mahomes is one. So you're looking at 16-1, the split between Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes. You could really probably make a case for Will Levis being the 32nd best quarterback in football. So that drop off, and that's the same split, right? 1 to 16, 16 to 32. The talent differential might be bigger because Patrick Mahomes is incomparable. But you're looking at a guy who went from having 444 yards with a mid-level 16th best quarterback in the NFL, all the way down to 222 yards the next year when half the time Will Levis was starting. What could he do in an offense with Patrick Mahomes as the starter? Here's what I will say. I went back because I haven't kept up with Trayon Burks since he's been in the NFL, really. There's not a whole lot to keep up with. I thought he was a strong wide receiver coming out of college. If I remember correctly, I think I had a second-round grade on him because you had a lot of the measurables. You had a lot of the tools. I think you didn't have terribly much production in college. So that's sort of the trifecta there, right? You want production in college, you want measurables, and you want tools. If you cover all three of those bases, you're a first-rounder. So when Brett VEACH says, oh, well, there's about 12 guys who are first-rounders here, that's what he's talking about, is some metric like that. Guys, Trayon Burks with the ball in the air. So the moment, boom, that ball leaves the quarterback's hands, Trayon Burks looks a lot like Rashee Rice. He just does. He catches the ball similarly. He's a good hands catcher. You can't hit him directly because he doesn't give you. Remember, they used to say this about Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen wouldn't give you the direct angle to hit him. That's why he was so slippery. Trayon Burks is very good at that, the same way that Rashee Rice is very good at that. Trayon Burks is one of these guys that they liked to target at the line of scrimmage, like Rashee Rice. Like the way Rashee Rice started last season, not in his rookie year. He didn't do a whole lot of this in his rookie year. But Trayon Burks in his rookie year was a good downfield target and even looks running deep routes the way that Rashee Rice looks running deep routes. And if I have to be very honest, one of the things that Rashee Rice did one time as a rookie, I believe, and I don't think he did it all last year, run the ball. Tried it one time as a rookie, if memory serves me correctly, and was tackled, I think, for a 3-yard loss. Didn't do it again. Didn't look good with the ball in his hand that way. Just kind of looked like he was out of position, right? Because he was. You're handing a ball off to a wide receiver. Trayon Burks looks good with the ball in his hand being handed off, right? So he's good at taking the corner. He's good at finding angles. So that adds a dimension to his game that even Rashee Rice does not have. Now, I do think that Rashee Rice is a better overall wide receiver, but I think that you understand what I mean when I'm saying he's a comp. Like you look at Trayon Burks' game and you say, oh yeah, that kind of looks like Rashee Rice when he's on. The problem for Trayon Burks is he has not been on very much in his career. I would not be against this, right? Especially because we have heard Brett Veach talk about we want a wide receiver that offers some upside in the return game. When they first changed these rules, if you were around the channel, you remember me saying, guys, I think we're going to see a whole lot more running backs returning kicks because you're not going to have to rely on speed with all those collisions so close to the kickoff being received. You're going to be able to break one or two tackles and hit a home run. Guys, Trayon Burks is 225 pounds. He's basically a running back. So I think that he would be valuable in the return game under these new rules. It would be an interesting trade, in my opinion, and you can see why they would want him if he is so reminiscent of Rashee Rice, because Rashee Rice is likely to miss time this season. This would allow them to keep that X receiver on the field and not have to really finagle all of the other wide receivers. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. I am over 2 years consecutive of daily uploads on the channel now, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.